Welcome to section 7, where we will look at how to use Ionic with alternative front-end frameworks. From the very first version of Ionic, it has been closely tied to the Angular JavaScript framework. Even when Angular was completely overhauled in version 2, Ionic followed suit. However, with the advent of version 4 of Ionic, we are now able to use other front-end frameworks in addition to Angular. So, in this section, we will cover how to use Ionic with React, and then we'll explore how to use Ionic with no framework at all. Rather, we will use plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's a lot of exciting stuff up ahead, so let's get started. In this video, we will go through how to get started creating a basic application using Ionic 4 and React.js. From version 4 of Ionic going forward, we are able to use any front-end framework that we'd like in building our applications. This video is going to be a basic demonstration of how to use React when building your Ionic applications. Now, once again, the concepts being demonstrated here are going to be quite basic. If you'd like more in-depth resources, then refer to section 9 in the further reading section. But for now, let's get started. So we want to start a new Ionic project, and we do that by running the command ionic start. We are then prompted for a project name. I'm going to name it Ionic React. And of course, we pick a framework and we're going to go with React. And we want the blank template. So that's going to go ahead and download that blank starter project. So let's be patient while that happens. Okay, so our application has been created. Let's navigate into our project folder. And we want to open our project using Visual Studio Code. So we have our project open in Visual Studio Code, and let's just check out our project structure. If we go here to source, and we can see that we have a standard React application. We have our index.tsx page, which is the main file for our project, our app.tsx. But the one we're really going to be worried about is this folder for our pages, and we have our home component here, home.tsx. So this is where we're going to be doing most of our work in this tutorial video. Let's check out the browser preview. And in our browser, we can see that we have pretty much a normal Ionic blank template. This is exactly the same thing that we would see if we were running Ionic Angular. So let me delete this starter content. And I'll rename the homepage. I'll save that. So how Ionic works with React is from here going downwards, we have the standard way of working with React with JavaScript extensions, JSX. And we have our imports up here as normal. However, we are importing these special elements that we then use down here. We are importing them from Ionic React. So the basic workflow is we will import the element that we want to use from Ionic React, and we'll be able to use it inside our JavaScript extensions. So in our homepage, we want to have an Ion card. So let's go about putting this in. So we need to first import the Ion card from Ionic React. So we're going to import the Ion card, and we come down here and we'll use our Ionic card. So we're going to have the Ion card, and let me show you. So first here we imported this and then made use of it down here. You could also just type it in if you're in Visual Studio Code. The next is we want to put an Ion card header. So if you put the Ion card header, and as soon as you select it from that list that appears, it's automatically imported up there. So we have our Ion card header. Next, we want to put in an Ion card subtitle. Ion card subtitle. And once again, it's automatically imported up there. Okay, that's it. Let's save and check out the preview. So there we go. We have our card and we have our header and some text inside the card. But it's looking a bit plain. Let's try to put in our logo. So if we go back here, first of all, let me copy the image into the folder. So first of all, if I open the Explorer, I want to have a folder in here for my assets inside Pages. So I'm just going to say new folder, call that assets. And inside the assets folder, I'm going to copy in my image. So there's my image inside of the assets folder. And we can see my image is right there. Let's close that. And now what I want to do is I want to now display the image inside my card. So there's a little bit of a difference in terms of how we display our images in React. So I'm just going to use the standard image tag. But our source is not going to be equal to a string. It's going to be equal to that. And we're going to say require. And inside our require, we'll then put in the path to our image. So we have those curly braces. So the source is equal to curly braces and then require, and we pull in our image. So it's going to be inside assets. All right, so let's save that and check it out in the browser preview. And there we go. We can see our image right there looking very nice. It's not looking so good with this padding. Let me remove the padding. Save. And now our card is looking much better. Okay, so that's it. I think this is good for our home page. What we want to also demonstrate in this tutorial is how to create a new page and to navigate through those two pages. So I have this home page. I'm going to create a login page, and I want to move from the login page to the home page, essentially logging in, though I'm not going to be implementing the login logic. We're just going to simply make it a link. So back in the Explorer, inside Pages, we want to have a new file, and we're going to call it login.tsx. So inside login.tsx, we are essentially going to copy everything from home. Control A, Control C to copy, and in login.tsx, Control V to paste, or Command V if you're on a Mac. So I need to change this home to login. I need to also change this to login, and this as well. So we now have our login page created. If we go back to the preview, however, we still have the home page because the home page is our default page. Let's go back. In the code, what we want to do is open Explorer, and we want to go to app.tsx. So app.tsx has our routing mechanism. There is this special Ion router from Ionic, which uses the native React native routing mechanism under the hood. So here we have a route for the path of home, and we have this path that it will redirect to home. So let's copy line 30 and paste it down here, and this is going to be our login route. So when the login route is hit in the URL, we want to launch the login component. But you're going to get this red squiggly line, cannot find the name login. That's because up here we are importing home, and we need to also import login. There we go. Login has been imported. If we go back, so our route for the login page is done. And we now want to make the default homepage to be login. So let's save this and go to the browser preview. Of course, this is not going to change because we have this /home in our URL. If we change it to that, we start off at the login page. But of course, in the login page, we need to have a login form. So let's go implement that. So in login.tsx, we'll come down here, and inside our Ion card content, let's get rid of this, and let's have some input fields. So once again, let's go up here. We want to import Ion input. And let's also have an Ion button. Okay, now let's make use of them down here. We have our Ion input, and we're going to give it a placeholder. So this is going to be our username field. Let's copy and paste this. And this is going to be our password field. And we want the password to be masked as the user types it in. So we put in a type of password. And finally, we want to have a button that when clicked will take us to the home page. So let's save this and check it out. And there we go. We have our login form down here. And you can see Chrome already recognizes this as a login form. It puts in a username and a password by default, which was saved on localhost. It's looking a bit crowded, so let me add a little bit of space using some HTML breaks. So we'll put a break in between there and another break in between there. Let's save and check out the preview. And we can see that we have this nice spacing over here. Now, finally, let's implement the logic for going from our login page to our home page. So on our button right here, we need to add an attribute called router link. And the router link is going to go to /home. Let's save and test it out. And there we go. We can see that we are navigating to the home page. So this is how you can implement a very, very basic React application in Ionic. It's very easy to make use of React. If you'd like more resources on what you can do with React and Ionic, you should check out section 9, where we have some further resources.